and Harry got the better of Andy and ended up bloodying his nose. Also, later when Meghan was on the scene, Harry got furious because Andy apparently said to him, in your book, "You're bonkers for marrying that woman because she's way too old for you."
There's lots and lots of circumstantial evidence, as you say, of all these connections. And it's just trying to prove them. I mean,
Prince Andrew didn't just dislike Meghan. According to royal insiders, he warned Harry. Not quietly, not politely. He allegedly tried to stop the marriage. When you hear what he said, you'll understand why this wasn't about love. This was about timing, access, and something Harry wasn't told. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. The story didn't start with a headline. It started with one man refusing to stay quiet, a royal biographer who wasn't supposed to dig this deep, a man who didn't chase rumors. He chased records. Andrew Lownie spent years studying one royal in particular, not because he was glamorous, but because his name kept appearing where it didn't belong.
He was taking private jets when commercial flights were available, helicopters when he could have gone by car, in huge amounts.
Private jets, wealthy friends, uncomfortable meetings, and the deeper Lownie went, the quieter the palace became. Doors closed, sources hesitated, phones stopped ringing. That's when he knew he was close. Because royals don't panic over gossip, they panic over paper trails. And then, in the middle of everything Andrew related, another name appeared, Meghan. Not as a headline, not as a scandal, but as a pattern. And once Lownie noticed it, he couldn't ignore it. Because Meghan wasn't just showing up in royal life, she was already there, long before Harry, long before the wedding. And that raised one dangerous question. What Prince Andrew allegedly said about Meghan was never meant for public ears. These weren't comments for tabloids, nothing written down at the time. No microphones, no witnesses, just family talk, the kind that only happens behind locked doors. According to royal biographer Andrew Lownie, Prince Andrew didn't just feel uneasy about Meghan. He warned Harry, not gently, not politely, directly. Lownie writes that Andrew allegedly called Meghan an opportunist. That word matters. It doesn't mean misunderstood, it doesn't mean emotional, it doesn't mean unlucky in love. It means intentional, strategic, calculated. Then came another comment. Andrew reportedly said Meghan was too old for Harry. That line annoyed people when it surfaced, but insiders say it was never about the number, it was about experience. It was about who had lived more life and who had lived in a palace bubble. Harry grew up guarded, protected, shielded from consequences. Meghan didn't. Andrew allegedly thought that gap mattered because when one person understands the world better than the other, they also control it. Then came the most shocking claim. According to Lownie's book, Andrew told Harry the marriage would not last more than a month. Think about that. Not years, not eventually. A month. That's not a guess, that's a warning. And it didn't stop there. Lownie also claims Andrew told Harry he hadn't done enough due diligence, that he rushed, that he was emotional, that he ignored important details about Meghan's past. Now, ask yourself something. Prince Andrew is not a cautious man. He's not known for giving heartfelt warnings. He doesn't meddle in other people's relationships. He didn't interfere in his daughter's marriages. He didn't involve himself in distant family drama. So why now? Why Harry? Why Meghan? Why risk backlash by stepping into personal territory? Unless Andrew believed something deeper was wrong. Unless he recognized something familiar. Unless Meghan reminded him of a world he knew too well, a world where power isn't obvious, a world where access is everything, and manipulation doesn't look like manipulation. It looks like charm. And that's the part that unsettles people, because Andrew didn't sound jealous. He didn't sound bitter. He sounded alarmed. And when Harry ignored him, Andrew went quiet. And sometimes silence after a warning means one thing. You said what you could, and now you wait for impact. The problem with secrets is they leave marks. And one of the biggest marks in this story appears in one quiet place, Toronto. In September 2013, Prince Andrew visited Toronto. No press tour, no royal parade, just business. Low profile, the kind of visit that doesn't make headlines but still moves a lot of people behind the scenes. And that's where the timing becomes strange, because at that exact moment, Meghan Markle was living in Toronto. Not nearby, not in the same country, reportedly just minutes away. 2 lives, 1 city, 1 month. And yet no official meeting ever happened, at least not on paper. No photos, no announcements, no palace acknowledgement. Nothing. And in the royal world, nothing is never nothing. Spontaneous meetings don't exist for royals. Every schedule is tracked, every dinner is recorded, every movement is approved. So if two high-profile people are in the same place at the same time, someone always knows, which makes this absence of records feel louder than any press release. Insiders claim this wasn't coincidence. They say Meghan and Andrew did cross paths, not accidentally, not casually, deliberately. And what makes that idea even stranger is the distance. Sources say Meghan was living just a few blocks away from where Andrew stayed, close enough to walk, too close to ignore. And if that sounds harmless, remember this: Harry hadn't met Meghan yet. Not officially, not publicly, not even secretly. Which means if Andrew did meet her in Toronto, then he met her first, before Harry, before engagement rumors, before Britain, before the spotlight. And suddenly, Andrew's warnings to Harry don't feel random anymore. They feel personal. Now imagine what that does to the story. It means Andrew didn't fear an image. He feared a person, a woman he may have already encountered, a woman Harry believed came out of nowhere. And here's the part people skip past. If Meghan truly entered royal life through Harry, then Andrew's interference makes no sense. But if Andrew encountered her earlier, if she moved through royal circles before the public ever knew her name, then it changes everything. Now Andrew isn't a villain. He's a witness, and that opens a far darker possibility. What if Meghan didn't enter through the front door, but through side halls, through connection, through access? What if Harry wasn't the gateway, but the destination? Because when Andrew warned Harry, he didn't warn him about the future. He warned him about the past, and Toronto is the first place that past starts to whisper. And yet, their worlds overlapped. The same venues, the same events, the same faces appearing in photos. Different lives, but the same rooms. And for people inside elite spaces, that doesn't happen randomly. In New York, your presence is not determined by talent. It's determined by access. Access to the right people, the right invitations, the right introductions. And sources say Meghan had access, not through Hollywood, not through royalty, but through something quieter, something far more powerful: connections. Insiders claim Meghan didn't just meet Eugenie by chance. They were introduced, brought together through mutual friends, gently placed in each other's orbit. And when royal daughters begin treating someone like a peer, it means that person has already passed invisible tests, background checks, social vetting, trust filters. Which makes one thing painfully clear: Meghan wasn't being discovered, she was being accepted. And that changes the timeline completely. Because if Meghan was known to the Yorks before Harry announced anything, then she wasn't an outsider. She was pre-approved. And that forces another hard question into the story. How does an American actress move comfortably through elite European aristocracy without the press noticing? The answer is simple. You don't do it loudly. You do it quietly. Behind walls, inside clubs, at private tables. And that's where the story starts darkening. Because New York isn't just a city, it's a gateway. It's where actors become brands, where investors become kingmakers, where mid-level players are positioned for bigger roles, and where someone like Meghan could quietly become visible to the right people. People who mattered, people who could open doors that Hollywood never could. And that may explain something Andrew already understood. When he warned Harry, he wasn't reacting to a stranger. He was reacting to someone who had already passed through the system. And New York is where that system begins. By this point, the story isn't about places anymore. It's about people. And one name keeps quietly appearing: Marcus Anderson. Most people don't know his face, but almost everyone in elite society knows his power. Insiders describe Marcus as a fixer, not in the criminal sense, in the social sense. He's not a celebrity. He's the man who introduces celebrities to people more important than celebrities. The gatekeeper, the door opener, the connector. And sources say Marcus didn't just know Meghan, he positioned her. He didn't just bring her to events, he guided her through rooms. He didn't just accompany her, he stayed close, very close. And the reason people noticed was consistency. Where Meghan went, Marcus wasn't far behind. New York, Toronto, London, Paris, always present, always watching. And his other circle? The Yorks. Princess Eugenie, Princess Beatrice. Sources say Marcus was trusted by them long before Meghan arrived. He wasn't just part of the background, he was part of the inner circle, which makes this uncomfortable question unavoidable. How does one man have access to American actresses and royal bloodlines at the same time? The answer, sources say, is influence. Marcus worked for one of the most exclusive private networks in the world, a members-only sphere where status is the currency and information is the real wealth. To most people, it looks like a club, but insiders say it's more like an ecosystem, a place where deals happen quietly, where alliances form invisibly, where personal relationships become professional leverage. And this is where Meghan moved with ease. Not awkward, not unsure, comfortable, confident, connected. And that is not natural for most outsiders. It's learned. And Marcus may have been the teacher. Insiders claim Marcus taught Meghan the unspoken rules: where to sit, who to avoid, who to listen to, who mattered, and who didn't. And once she learned that, she didn't just move through rooms, she navigated them. Now, remember Andrew's alleged warning: opportunist, calculated, strategic, Harry not doing homework. When you line those words up with Marcus, they sound less like insult and more like observation.
Because if someone enters elite circles quickly, someone has opened doors for them, and Marcus had the keys. So when Andrew warned Harry, he wasn't pointing at Meghan alone. He may have been pointing out what stood behind her. And from here on, the story stops feeling romantic and starts feeling dangerous. By now, the pattern is forming, quietly, uneasily, because what once looked like networking now feels more like positioning. And nowhere is that clearer than in how Meghan reportedly traveled. According to insiders, she didn't always fly commercial. She wasn't always in economy. Sometimes she flew private, not as royalty, not as a global celebrity, but as a guest of people whose names don't trend but move quietly in the background, powerful people. Insiders say she boarded private jets before she was famous, before the palace, before the fairy tale. And here's the detail that made people uncomfortable. Around the same time, Prince Harry was reportedly flying economy, the prince, born into privilege, surrounded by protocol, while the actress flew privately. Let that settle. It wasn't about money, it was about access. Someone was opening doors for Meghan faster than royalty ever opened them for Harry. And access always has a cost. Now bring the story back to one place. Not a palace, not a royal estate, but somewhere quieter, more discreet. Soho House, marketed as a social club, but whispered about as a hub. A meeting ground for celebrities, for investors, for people close enough to power to influence it without holding it. According to insiders, this wasn't coincidence. Soho House was the intersection where Meghan's world and Andrew's world quietly overlapped, where people who shouldn't know each other did. And that matters because networks like this aren't built around talent, they're built around trust. And the strange part? How naturally Meghan fit in. No awkward phase, no obvious learning curve, almost like she already knew the rules, prepared, guided, positioned. Then came the wedding. March 2017. Jamaica, one of Prince Harry's oldest friends, a quiet gathering of very loud power. And according to multiple accounts, Meghan allegedly arrived by private jet, while Harry reportedly flew commercial. Again, same pattern. Not once, not random. And who was there? Not just friends, but members of Prince Andrew's closest inner circle. His daughter, his ex-wife, figures from his world, present and hovering. Behind it all, the influence of men like Ron Burkle, a billionaire known for private aircraft, elite access, and quiet reach. Insiders claim this wasn't just a wedding. It was a collision point. Royal tradition, billionaire logistics, celebrity proximity, all in one place. Nothing illegal proven, nothing charged. But proximity matters because Andrew's controversies didn't start in headlines. They started with access, introductions, flights, and suddenly his anxiety makes sense. If you recognize a system, it's usually because you've lived inside one, which brings us to the moment glamour cracked into confusion. A wedding, a public denial, and a story that refused to stay straight. Every controlled story eventually slips. And for this one, the cracks began showing almost immediately. From the outside, the wedding looked perfect. The dress, the smiles, the music, a modern fairy tale.
But behind palace walls, insiders say something else was unfolding. Not joy, tension, not celebration, concern. Staff reportedly sensed it early, long before the headlines, long before family distance became public, long before interviews. There were changes. Sudden changes. Rules rewritten overnight, access blocked, traditions questioned, and people who had been around royalty for decades felt something off. Not wrong, just unfamiliar, unsettling. And this is where Andrew's earlier warnings began echoing, because what he supposedly feared started happening. Harry pulled away, first from Andrew, then from William, then from everyone. Phones unanswered, invitations declined, long-time relationships quietly fading. Not loudly, not with fights, just absence. And when distance grows quietly, it's usually not accidental. The palace didn't respond with anger at first. They responded with patience, waiting, assuming, hoping. But insiders say it didn't resolve, it deepened. Suddenly, meetings required approval, conversations filtered, visits limited, on both sides. And that's when the question began circulating internally. Who was in control? Not publicly, privately. Who was steering the decisions? People noticed patterns. Emails rewritten, schedules shifted, old friends replaced with new advisors, and always the same faces nearby, the same confidants, the same inner circle tightening. And Andrew, he reportedly watched from a distance, silently. No interviews, no explanations, no reconciliation tours, just withdrawal. Because once you warn someone and they ignore you, there's not much left to say. Only space to give. And according to insiders, Andrew gave it. But what the public didn't see was how tense his silence actually was. He wasn't passive, he was watching. And restraint isn't weakness. Sometimes it's dread. By this point, the fairy tale wasn't collapsing, it was mutating. From romance to control. From unity to rupture. And people inside the palace began asking dangerous questions. Was Harry choosing to leave? Or had he been led there? Nobody said it out loud, but everyone felt it. Because when someone transforms this quickly, you don't just ask why, you ask what changed them. And that leads to the final layer, the layer Andrew never spoke about publicly, the one involving power outside royal walls, influence that doesn't wear crowns, pressure that doesn't come from family, and consequences that don't need permission. Then came the moment insiders say made Andrew's warnings feel real. Not emotional, not personal, legal. Because according to royal biographer Andrew Lownie, something happened behind the scenes that never reached headlines. It happened inside a courtroom strategy conversation, a quiet one. During preparations connected to the fallout around Prince Andrew and his association with the Epstein network, one name allegedly surfaced that shocked people paying attention: Meghan. Not in public papers, not in filings, in discussion, in whispers, in strategy. Lownie claimed that Andrew was told lawyer David Boies had interest in questioning Meghan Markle during case discovery, not because she was accused of anything, not because she was suspected of wrongdoing, but because she might have known something.
Boies wanted to call Meghan in the Andrew case. So there's lots and lots of circumstantial evidence, as you say, of all these connections. And it's just trying to prove them. I mean,
Here's what most people don't understand. Attorneys don't chase famous names for attention. They chase leverage. They don't request depositions lightly. They don't waste time. And they don't draw powerful people into cases for drama. They do it for information. Which is why insiders say this moment mattered, because it suggested Meghan might not just be a royal figure, but a witness to something else, something older, something hidden, something that connected Andrew's private universe to her early one. And if that feels uncomfortable, good, because it was for Andrew too. Because suddenly, Andrew wasn't just dealing with scandal, he was dealing with proximity exposure, not documentation, not accusation, connection, which is often more dangerous than evidence. Now here's where the story tightens. No subpoena happened, no court appearance followed, no name appeared in legal documents. And that silence, that's what frightened people. Because silence doesn't mean nothing. It means something didn't move forward quietly, on purpose, by intervention, or by prevention. And that's what Andrew tried to stop.
Not a wedding, a collision. Because once legal interest brushes royal blood, nothing stays buried. And Andrew knew once law gets close, it doesn't look away. By the end of it all, one thing is hard to ignore. This was never just about romance. It wasn't about personality clashes or palace politics. It was about what existed before the wedding, the connections, the timing, the doors that opened a little too easily. When Prince Andrew allegedly warned Harry, it didn't sound like a jealous relative. It sounded like someone who had seen a pattern before and knew what came next. Whether you believe the insiders or not, whether you think this is coincidence or control, one thing is clear. This story didn't begin with love. It began long before anyone was watching. And the most unsettling part? Some questions still don't have answers. They were just avoided. So now we want to ask you, do you think Andrew was trying to protect Harry or protecting himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if stories like this make you question what you're told, if you feel like something here doesn't add up, then hype this video so it reaches the people who need to see it. Hit like, tap hype, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And share this with someone who still believes the official story, because the next one goes deeper, gets darker, and reveals even more. You don't want to miss what's coming.